How to master your pull-up in as little as 12 weeks, even if you're a complete beginner. We're going to go through the progression from never doing a pull-up before and understanding what's required to really get closer to your first pull-up. So the first step we're going to go through is understanding a dead hang. It's going to go through a little bit of stability, getting awareness of just being able to hold that position, and then we're going to get an idea of how a muscle actually works. This is really important simply because it's going to completely depend on what part of the range you are strongest in order to build up from there. Meaning, when we hold an isometric, we're stronger than if we're extending or lengthening the muscle, and then by extending, we're stronger than when we're shortening. So going through the progression of isometric and then eccentric being the lengthening, and then finally to the concentric will be when we can get to our first pull-up. So using that progression through all 4 stages of getting to your first pull-up is what I want to walk you through. The first one, as I mentioned, will be our dead hang. So I'm just going to get Rustin to come up and jump on the bar. Now this in itself, there'll be a little bit of maybe swinging or stabilizing, and if you haven't got comfortable with doing a pull-up before, this is a really, really good place to start because we can stabilize our glutes, our core, allow this shoulder to figure itself out, as well as the forearm grip, and actually making sure that we're highlighting that potentially that could be a factor if we haven't done a pull-up before. So getting used to 3 or 4 rounds of 20 up to 40 seconds of a dead hang can be a really, really good way to get comfortable with that first progression of a pull-up, so we can get you to rest there. The second variation that I mentioned was the isometric. Now, this is where we're simply holding one position and getting the body comfortable with that. You'll be mindful that you'll likely be a little bit shaky here to start because your body's trying to figure out how to contract the muscles in that one position. So here again, what we're going to do is we're going to come up and jump on and hold that handle, and we're going to hold it at a 90-degree angle. So if you can lift up to 90 degrees, somewhere around that 90 degrees, keep your elbows in a little bit and hold that position for a good 10 to 20 seconds. Holding that, you can see you're starting to shake a little bit. You need to stabilize through the core, and even squeezing the glutes can help a little bit here just to keep that really strong. All right, we can relax there. One thing that Rustin didn't do that we need to remember is breathe. As you get deeper into that, you tend to go pretty red in the face if you don't breathe. Before we go to the next one, we'll give Rustin a bit of rest, just being mindful of the handle you use. If you're brand new to pull-ups, doing a fully supinated grip will be your easier option, then going to potentially a hammer, and then going to full open. Be mindful then when you go fully supinated, that can sometimes be a little bit more stressful on the forearm. So even better is somewhere between the two, somewhere around that 45 degrees. But if you're new to doing pull-ups, or you want to find which one is easier to start with, somewhere between that hammer to supinated or 45 in the middle tends to be an easier option before then going out to a wider example of a pull-up. So now we're into that motion. We've done our dead hang and we've done our isometric. Our next one here is going to be going through eccentrics. Now, something that's really useful to add in here is if we have a box, or we have a step or something to stand on. So what we're going to do is I'll get Rustin to step up on the box on the side, because we want to take out that concentric component of the motion. We're going to hold those handles. We're going to come up to the top and just hold that position so we get rid of the swing. And then we're going to take 10 seconds to really lower ourselves. Keep your elbows in slightly, keep the chest nice and tall. We're keeping these shoulders down so we don't have our shoulders up near our ears. And then we're going to step off to the side again on that bench to come up to the top. We're going to hop up, hold that top position, remember to breathe, and control that motion down again. So we're really getting used to the eccentric motion of that pull-up. And we'll just do one more there because it's far too easy for you. Jump up the top, hold that, keep the elbows in, chest tall, keep those shoulders down, and we're extending that down. Now this will be where we start to get a little bit of challenge with this motion, and we can relax there at the bottom, okay? So if you get a little bit tired, you can't do another rep, even adding in a bit of a dead hang there at the bottom can be beneficial as that phase 3 of a pull-up, right? Now we're in a position that we've gone through a full hold, an isometric, and then the lengthening. If we still feel we're not confident enough to do a full pull-up at this point, usually that lengthened position of the bicep may need a little bit of work. So adding in a fully extended incline bicep curl, or simply a normal bicep curl, really emphasizing that stretch, can be sometimes a factor in this last position. But likely now that we've gone through the isometric and now the eccentric of that motion, we should now be in position to do a pull-up. So like I mentioned, in order to do your first pull-up, keep the core and your glutes nice and stable, keep your chest nice and tall, and really make sure that we keep those shoulders pulled back. A lot of time when we go into a pull-up position, we think about pulling up and getting that chin up over the bar, and our shoulders tend to come up here. So really be mindful of how we're using the back rather than just letting the shoulders, arms, and anything that will contract do that pull-up. So in this last motion, we'll just go for 2 reps. Let's stick to a nice easy handle in that hammer grip roughly. And we're just focused on keeping the glutes core nice and tight, chest stays tall, and we're going from a dead hang right up to the top, keeping that chest tall. Now be mindful for you that the goal is to keep these shoulders locked down to really make sure you're working the back rather than just your ego, and try to make sure that we're squeezing this, not just the biceps there at the top. All right, and you can relax. And that is your 4-step progression to getting to your first pull-up.